The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch UK Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to Paranormal Concept right here on Parasearch UK Radio with your host, Paul Rook.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Paranormal Concept Show. I'm your host, Paul Rook, and tonight we have joining us a very special guest, Kerry Greenaway, everybody.
Oh, thanks.
Look, mate, I've just had 2 weeks off. I'm a very special guest, all right?
Absolutely.
Bloody special.
Guest
I've not been on the show on station for like 2 months, but you know, whatever.
and we're also joined by our other special guest.
You're damn right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Alex King, how are you?
I was alright.
He's now mortally wounded.
And my ego is like in overdrive.
Whereas mine is hitting the roof.
Well, I mean, Kerry was going to be our special guest, but you was going to be the awesome one. But hey, if you wanted special, that's fine with me. You can be special too.
Oh, I'm special in a, as in like a case of like a kid that doesn't do well in school is special. I'm that kind of special.
There's nothing wrong with that. At least it's special.
Oh, you always make me laugh, Alex. You always make me laugh.
No, I don't even try. I don't. Or do I? No, I try. I try very hard to be funny.
And you are, to me.
Absolutely. Oh, dear. Well, this is why the show's going to go tonight, I think. One giant laugh fest.
I'm not dissing people that do paranormal shows sometimes, but I just find it sometimes to be. I mean, paranormal is what we do. It's like it's like the biggest thing in our lives, basically, after our family or whatever. Let's be fair. And some people take it way too seriously, and they just go on and on and on, and I just find it like sort of tedious. So whenever I talk about stuff or I go on a show and it's a paranormal show, I do try and liven things up a bit more, because I don't want people just to sort of listen to the same old paranormal stories and stuff, if that makes sense.
Well, that's it. You've got, I mean, although it is a passion for most of us, you've got to enjoy what you're doing. If you don't enjoy it, then maybe it's time to quit,
I've got no doubts these people enjoy the paranormal. I just think they take it too seriously.
Definitely. There are people out there that do take it seriously, but then, we use some of their information and data and stuff in our investigations. So there is still a serious side to it, but you still got to have the fun to go with it. Otherwise, as you said, it just gets tedious and boring. And yeah, indeed. So anyway, we was going to talk about. We're going to touch briefly on the Parafest.
The what?
Convention. The Parafest. It was Parafest convention, wasn't it?
I think I find it was Living Paranormal Parafest.
Living Paranormal Parafest.
Yeah, it was Living Paranormal Magazine Parafest or something like that. I don't know.
So none of us have got it right.
I mean, let's just say LPM Parafest for short.
Yeah,
that's the one. It's just I've got so many paranormal conventions to remember for this year. It's like, really, just keep mixing them up. So, do you want to tell us the news about?
Yeah, I mean, in case people didn't realise, it has been cancelled. I'm not going to go into all the ins and outs of it. I'll remain political on the subject, but long story short, we didn't have anything to do with the cancellation. The location decided that they didn't want it happening anymore. They didn't want the, well, I won't say the sum, but hundreds of pounds we've already raised for them. So yeah, it's cancelled, and we've had to, we're in the process of giving all that money back.
Okay. Well, that's money they won't get then, isn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, we're not disheartened by it. We've got another location who will be a lot more accommodating for us. Hopefully we're going to do something in September for the guests that weren't able to come. You know, if they want to. I mean, it won't be a paranormal convention at this point, because it's too short time span to sort something out. Because obviously with Parafest we've been doing it for over a year at the point that it got cancelled. So you know, over a year's worth of work has just basically been flushed down the toilet for no real reason, if I'm honest. So you know, we're going to be doing something at another location, and next year we're going to try again with a Paracon. It won't be Parafest, but it will be something at this location. I mean, I might as well say what it is. It's Fort Amherst in Chatham.
Yeah.
Which is a awesome location. It's one of the best locations we've been to in terms of evidence that we've got. It's one of the only locations where I've like hit my pants. And I mean, it's a unique place, and it's just really awesome. And there will be more than accommodating for us in sorting something out. So at some point next year, we will be Living Paranormal magazine will be involved with a Paracon at Fort Amherst.
Fantastic! I'll definitely go. I'll definitely go along to that one. I do love that location, and I actually grew up just down the road from there. So I used to visit the place as a kid. Oh, it's a fantastic location.
I'm sorry you grew up in the Medway.
Well, yeah, it was a bit bumps then, but way back then in the 60s.
It's probably
actually, to be fair, I'm not that old.
Yeah, you
are. My mum and dad, well, my mum was born in the 60s, so yeah.
I can't really say that.
No, you was the 40s when you Kerry.
Oh my God! Jesus!
You're doing really good for a 70-year-old.
Thank you, Alex. Love you, Alex. Don't like Paul anymore. Love you, Alex. Thank you.
That's not what you said.
You're proper cool.
I look very good for my 70s. Cheers.
I don't know if you call that you're a proper gilf. Yeah. Respect your bad self.
I do. I respect my bad self all over.
Every way.
Anyway, let's get back on topic. God, talking about gilfs and stuff.
Don't have me on the show. Come on.
Fort Amherst. Let's go back to Fort Amherst.
Yeah. Sure.
What sort of activity have you got there in the past?
We investigated it for a long time. The first time we investigated was in 2011. That was mainly sort of personal experiences, and some weird stuff happened. And then in 2016, we investigated it again for the first time in 5 years. And there's a door, and I think you'll know which one I mean. It's a big door that's basically used as a lighting passage. It goes out into like a 60-foot drop, because it's just a big ditch. Someone was banging on the other side of the door.
Okay.
And we could not explain it because it's screwed shut. So, and there was no wind that day, so that rules that out. And it was specific in response to us requesting it. And then a year later, when we investigated it, I was on my own in the tunnels, and a whole load of weird stuff happened in the space of like 10 minutes. And I don't usually get scared on investigations, but something felt very odd, and I didn't feel very comfortable. So I mean, the footage is on our on Berlin Paranormal's YouTube, and I basically just sort of walk out talking to myself, and I say ridiculous things like I've got the mega chills, whatever the f that is, and I mean there was a first of all there was this weird squeaking, like someone was pushing a cannon, and it was the wheels squeaking.
Okay.
At first, I thought it was a rat or something. I even radio through.
Is that in the tunnel area?
This is in the tunnel, the same bit where the door is in the lighting passage.
Right. Okay. Yep.
It's like in the tunnel network. You'll see if you've never been there, then you'll see what I mean. If you do go there, there's like a big sort of space halfway up where there was a cave in. Years back when it was built by the Welsh and Cornish miners, and like 17 people died. I think some of them were children. So first of all, I had this squeaking, which was weird, but that didn't scare me. I thought it was a rat, so I radioed through to the guy who was in charge of us that night. He said that they recently had the rat guy in, so there's definitely no rats or mice or anything. Yeah. But it didn't sound like a rat. That's just what I thought straight away. The more I thought about it, it definitely sounded like someone was pushing a cannon or a cart or something heavy where the wheels were squeaking.
Well, it's a possibility.
So yeah, it could have been a residual noise from that, which is what I'm trying to say. And then there was a loud bang on one of the barrels, and then behind me there felt like there sounded like someone was scraping something metallic, so a bayonet, for example, on the chalk wall, and you can actually hear the scraping.
Yeah.
And it's right behind me. And at this point, the atmosphere completely changed, and I felt as if I was being hounded out. So I sort of basically just walked quickly and calmly out down towards the main door. As I got to the main door, I turned back and quickly looked up, and I was sort of explaining what was happening on the camera. And I say, I feel as if someone touched me. And as soon as I say that, there's a EVP of a male voice going, "Yep."
Wow.
And bear in mind, I'm all on my own at this point because everyone else was up, and then there was another guy sleeping in the car because he had to drive home, and he was an old man. No offense, Paul. And
where's the mute button?
and I opened the door, and I'm not saying it's demonic because I don't, because it's not demonic. I don't think it's demonic. But we caught an EVP this time of a growl, like a lion roaring, almost, especially when it was slowed down. I didn't even realise at the time. I didn't react to it. Obviously, I didn't react to the first EVP, and we didn't realise we were watching it back. And we caught. We believe we caught a figure in one of the offshoots as you go out, which is like what they turned into, like the ARP section or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Is that where the desks and that are?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't originally the World War II area. They've just done that to show what it was like. The original World War II area, which I love because mediums sometimes get this wrong, and that just completely ruins their, I can't think of the word.
The credibility.
They ruins their credibility. That's right. Yeah, sharp. Right, and the actual World War II area was on the first and second gun floor at the top of the tunnel network. That's where they were, which makes sense because then they've got internet access up top. But that's pointless for me even talking about that anyway. But that's what I caught. And then I went outside. I couldn't get into the cafe because it was locked. So I just sat in my car for like 20 minutes, and then I decided, right, I'm going back out. Didn't have the camera with me this point. I wasn't recording, which was annoying. I went all the way up the tunnel network, got to the door to go up top. It was shut, and I couldn't open it. So I was like, oh, for God's sake. So I walked all the way back down, went back in the car. Eventually, about 45 minutes later, everyone else came out. And apparently they had tied the rope. They had tied a rope around the door to keep it open, but when I went up there, it wasn't tied open.
Interesting.
And it was definitely the right door as well. There was only or what we were talking about. So that I can't explain either. That was weird.
Yeah. Well, when I went there, I took we had a couple of very young, sceptical gentlemen with us, and they were all like having a laugh, thinking, it's just a big joke, laugh tonight, sort of thing. They were in the tunnels 10 minutes with us, and they come out believers. You just love people like that.
if I didn't believe it, I would have believed it then as well. I mean, Fort Amherst is one of those locations that's kind of hit and miss. Sometimes you don't get anything.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get loads of stuff happen.
Well, that's it. I've personally...
The last time there, we didn't really... I mean, some odd things happened that we couldn't explain, but most of it was sort of the feeling of the place was wrong.
Yeah.
It was sort of personal stuff happening. So we didn't get any what I would call hard evidence.
Yeah.
But being there, you could tell something, was up.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been there so many times, and I've personally not experienced anything in the tunnels. The part that I find the most interesting and the most active is actually the gatehouse. That isn't normally included. Normally you have to pay extra for the gatehouse, but we was allowed to go in this gatehouse for the nothing that night.
You're not the only one.
Awesome. It is a real good experience in there, and the amount of stuff we got. I mean, we got guests feeling really ill. We had... It was really strange. We just done a Ouija board session in there, actually.
Yeah, we did one in there as well.
We got I suppose the best way of describing it is a metallic whistle noise.
Okay.
And it was literally...
metal whistle, basically.
Yeah, it was literally... It sounded like someone was standing right behind me making that noise.
Yeah.
And, you look around and there's like no one there. It's like, okay, what was that then? And you start looking for explanations, and, nothing was there. So I really have not got a clue what that was.
We've done 2 Ouija board sessions in there. During one of them, the camera... I was sitting in front of a camera on a tripod, and suddenly it fell over, and it scared the hell out of all of us. And if when we actually watched the footage back using that camera, thankfully it wasn't broken, there's like static on the tape, and then it rises. If you watch it, especially in slow motion, you can see that the camera actually goes up slightly, forward. And then the first time we ever investigated Fort Amherst, we used a Ouija board, and we had a guy. I can't remember his name. I really can't remember his name right now. But I mean, he used to work there.
Yeah.
And we was like, because obviously there was a guy looking after us there, so how do we explain to this guy who you are? And he said, tell him that I was the gay guy. I was like, okay. And and we told him the guy's name, and he said he was gay, and he was like, yeah, how did you know? I was like, well, you told us.
Yeah.
So it's nice because we got that confirmed straight away. And then it wasn't until recently we found out that guy actually has a memorial bench there.
Yes, that's the one at the top, isn't it? I think.
No, it's if you walk, if you're in the car park, there's like a little bit between like the cliff face and the gatehouse. There's a bit you can walk up, and there's like a little garden, and there's a memorial bench in there, and that's the guy who we came with. So I mean, we didn't even know that was there. We only found out recently. So again, that was more confirmation for us.
Yeah, definitely the gatehouse is the best place, I think, at Fort Amherst. But I mean, in the caves, you have got a lot of history associated with that, and it isn't all just World War II stuff either. The
history of Fort Amherst goes back to the Roman era. In fact, there's still
I think
they believe that there's Roman artifacts buried, which they haven't got to yet. That's in the unrestored area, which is because we've investigated the unrestored area. It's really strange in there.
Didn't the old Chatham village as well exist on the top?
I can't remember.
Not literally on top of the fort, but just sort of over the brow a bit. I think the original Chatham Village was there as well. So you got like graveyards and stuff, and then obviously you got the chalk ground as well. So yeah, I mean the history does go way back.
Yeah, I mean Fort Amherst is a really unique location because it's one of the most strategically designed forts, in my opinion, in the UK. I mean, if you could imagine it in its heyday, you could, you know that an enemy attacking it would get completely confused because of the way it was built, and it was connected to other forts in the area, like Fort Horsted, which
there's actually 5
10 minutes up the road.
Yeah, there's 5 forts in that area, and they're all the same design.
It's so unique because it's a fort. Basically, it's not just a fort military location. You've got the caves as well.
Yeah.
So it's so unique for that reason. It's just a great location.
It is, absolutely. We got a question in the chat room from Kaz Rooney. She wants to know what's the best location you've been to.
Well, for Amherst, I would say, as we're talking about it. I mean, you know why it's my favourite. I can tell you my least favourite, which is...
Go on, what's your least favourite? 30
East Drive is my least favourite location.
Okay.
I think it's one of the most overhyped locations in the UK.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to badmouth anything. I'm just saying that's my least favourite location.
Yeah, I've got my suspicions about that place.
Fort Amherst is my favourite, definitely, for the reasons I just went into.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I've got my reservations about 30 East Drive myself, and also what's that other one? The one in Hull, the hostel.
I didn't hear something about some people were faking stuff there recently or something. I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I only saw it flash up really quickly, so I just assumed that's what place they were.
I think they done some sort of TV show there quite recently as well. But I don't read too much into those sort of posts and just keep scrolling. But I've been to De Grey Street, and we didn't really get any activity there at all through the whole night. But the mediums that was with us, they were picking up on residual energy, and the old guy that lived in the house as well, they picked up on. But they just wanted to get on with what they were doing. They didn't want to interact with us. Well, they just wanted to be left alone.
I think a lot of locations that are available to us to investigate aren't really haunted, because I don't consider residual hauntings to be a haunting, if that makes sense.
Because more active, doesn't it?
Yeah, because I mean, I'm not saying you can't get evidence from residual hauntings, because we have. It's just if you want, an actual conversation with these spirits, you have to go to a location where it's not just residual, because otherwise that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
But then again, you can get residual EVPs, like when people say they hear planes from World War II flying overhead on an old airfield. Again, that's residual. But intelligent hauntings are more fun because they respond to you.
Well, that's it. You're more likely, I think, to get more evidence out of that than you are a residual. Because as I said, residual energy just want to be left alone, get on with what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
anyone.
history repeating itself. It's the energy of stuff that's happened there being soaked up by the location, and it's just history repeating itself. And it's like when people say on a particular date that they see a horse and carriage go up the street to the Rayleigh Lodge in Essex, in Rayleigh in Essex. I mean, that happens on I don't know what year, that happens on a particular date every year. It goes all the way up a street, all the way up to the Rayleigh Lodge and stops outside it, apparently. But then again, a lot of these sort of things are just legends, like Anne Boleyn's meant to be outside Blickling Hall on the day that she died, but there's no real historical proof that she was actually born there, so why would she be there?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
You know,
I've often wondered. I mean, someone showed me quite recently a photograph of what they said was it looked like a horse with a knight sitting on the top, and
Yep.
it was taken in somebody's attic, and they were like, it's a spirit of this horse and knight and everything, and they were quite convinced that it was a spirit. And then I just turned around and
Did it
said,
not occur
"Well,
to them, why would there be a horse in someone's attic?
that's exactly my first thought." It's like, okay, I'm not dismissing the fact that it's a ghost. It's like, why is it there?
People get so caught up with stuff that their common sense just disappears sometimes with paranormal investigating, and it's like, not use your common sense, mate. Yeah, why would a horse be
exactly?
I think it's a Hever Castle. There's meant to be a horse that goes through one of the passageways, but I think it was actually known for someone who lived there years ago to actually take the horse inside. So, that's possible. But a horse in someone's attic.
Well, that's something.
It's a bit weird.
Exactly. I mean, I did say, like, why is it in someone's attic? And they were like, well, I don't know. Maybe it's a case of that the land was a lot higher when that night was passing through or whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
So it is essentially going through the attic. And I thought, yeah, okay, I can understand that. But what if it isn't? What if it was just?
I mean, if you
as it
think
is now?
then research it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's what it's all about.
find out how where the land was back in the day.
Well, that's it. They should research these sort of things before they come to me with the evidence. I like to throw spanners in the works.
I can be kind of a dick about evidence sometimes. I'm not trying to disprove people, but sometimes some things I see on Facebook or any social media, people catching something, I just laugh. Because I don't know how on earth they could think that it's spiritual activity. Like there was a medium recently who uploaded a picture because she gave a reading to someone in her house, in her front room, and then apparently whoever was with this person stayed. So she saged her room, and then people are going about, oh, you can see faces in the smoke. Well, obviously you're going to see faces in the smoke.
Yeah.
I mean, it's matrixing. You will see faces in. I mean, I can look outside now and I can see a face in my fence panel. Doesn't mean there's someone actually there. It just looks like it.
I just find it. Yeah, I find it so amusing when you get something like that. I mean, there was one a couple of weeks ago with a mirror, and it was all smudged, and people was like, "Oh, you can see faces and bodies in that and stuff." And I'm looking at it. Well, clean the mirror first, then let's take a picture of it and see if they're still there.
My favourite ones is when people say, "Oh, look, you can see a face," and people are like, "I can't see it." Then they upload another picture of it circled, and you still can't see it.
Yeah.
But what are you seeing?
Well, that's it. If they have to circle,
I'm not having a go. It's just if you have to circulate it to point it out to people, then it's not really that obvious. And even when they do circle it, half the time I can't even see what they're still going on about.
Yeah, I used to have some strange woman on my social media, and she was quite adamant that what she was catching on CCTV was ghosts. So I couldn't see anything. And one day she was posted up a picture. She posted like randomly every day, but there was one particular day she took a picture of a CCTV camera, and there was obviously a cobweb going right across the camera. And she said, "Look, there you go. That's the ghost that's outside my house."
This happened,
and I'm like, "It's a cobweb," And she's like, "No, it's not." I actually
friends in America too.
I actually
there was a spider going across the CCTV camera, and they were like, "Oh, it's a demon." Like, it's not a fucking demon.
Yeah. At the time, there was an investigator that I used to call a friend, and I actually tagged him in it because he was very opinionated and he was always right. So I tagged him in this conversation so he could just argue with her. So off you go. Oh, you remember the conversation then, Kerry?
Yeah, I kind of do remember that conversation.
Oh, yeah. I'm just letting
Fun
you know.
days, fun
The
days.
conversation. I want to know.
No, it's just exactly what you've been saying at the end of the day. Look, you have to be very, very careful with any evidence you collect on EVP, on video, on camera. There are so many reasons why it isn't spirit materializing rather than it is, and you have to be very knowledgeable about what your tech does, and we see it time and time again. And I think that's the problem. I think education or educating yourself. If you're in the field, you need to educate yourself. And we are all out there for the same reason. And yes, we want to have fun too. That's not what we're saying. But don't put something out there until you really don't know. And then put it out to peers that are important, that know their stuff more. I've collected stuff and put it out to people. And, I haven't put it on social media because I'm genuinely wanting to know what it is. If it isn't something, it's camera flare or matrixing or whatever it be, then so be it. But I would rather know than make myself look like an idiot by putting it out on social media. And that's my personal opinion. And I don't diss anybody that it does that. But if you get given an explanation for what you've put out there, then explore that. Don't just go, wow, I think it's spirit, end of. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
people get overprotective, like the people who are
exactly,
their only child.
Exactly. If you put it out anything, in fact, this goes for any area of your life. You put it out on social media on a general public basis, expect somebody to come back with an opinion that you haven't got. And if you haven't got that opinion and it differs from somebody else, then take it on board and look at it further. Don't just get defensive about it. You know what I mean?
Can't be so bloody sensitive.
Exactly. You put it out there in the public domain. If someone's come up with an explanation for that, then take that on board and research it further if you don't think it's right.
Mm.
Don't
I've had
argue.
situations. I've had situations where I've tried politely explain to someone what's happening, and then they start an argument with me, but it's not like they're arguing their point validly. They're having a go at me.
Exactly.
They
take it personal.
That's when if they didn't make it to the point where they were being offensive towards me, I would have left it, but I couldn't stop, and I just kept going on.
But when you put
making them
something
even
out
more
there,
mad.
But when someone puts something out there and you put a genuine explanation out there, and then someone comes back and says, "Well, you're just a twat. What do you know?" Well, clearly more than you do.
What do we
I've
know?
come
What
out
do
with...
any of us know?
No,
At the
but
end of the day,
if you've come out with a
you
genuine
can't fool yourself.
explanation, but if you've come up with a genuine explanation for something, and they come back personal, you go, well, clearly I know more than you because I've come back with an explanation. I've not just gone, this is shit.
I mean,
do you know what I mean?
One thing I will say, I do not think any of us in this industry can call ourselves a professional because
No.
we're not professionals. This isn't a proper science. People seem to forget that. This is all theory based.
Exactly.
If that makes sense.
Of course
And
it does.
I mean, and going back to that argument I was having earlier, I got to the point where I realised how pathetic it was because they were telling me that spirits use dust and water vapour to communicate with us, so they are orbs. I'm like, and I'm done. That's it. I'm done. I'm not. If you're gonna come out with something as stupid as that, you can go and suck a dick. I'm done.
Oh,
I'm done. That's too much. Sorry, that's more. But yeah. I mean, none of us are professionals in this industry. We all learn and we all form different opinions about things, and some of them make more sense than others.
I would change that. No, I would change that. I would say that you can approach it with a professional attitude, but you cannot be an expert. I would say there was a differential in terms there. I say you can approach it from a professional attitude, but you are never going to be an expert.
No, and you have to be open-minded either way. You know, you have to be open about the possibility of ghosts and stuff, but you have to remain open-minded about the fact that just because you catch an orb doesn't necessarily mean it's a ghost.
No, I don't.
You have to be open-minded about the other possibilities that it could be, and then work it out. You know, what does dust look like when it's caught on a camera flash? What does moisture look like? What does pollen look like? What do bugs look like? And then what does the
camera tech issues look like? I mean, it's been a phenomena recently with the iPhone. You take a photograph and it's coming up with like a blue orb, you know, like a blue.
Is that the new iPhone?
Yeah. And it,
you know, and that face stuff.
Exactly. But that's been looked at and found that someone thought that was paranormal phenomena. It isn't. It's just a tech blip, should we say? You know, and that was discovered because somebody's caught it and said, "Oh, that's a bit weird. What's that?" So they went back out. They relooked at it
as well.
Exactly.
It's simple things as well. It's like the shutter speed. What is your shutter speed set out on your camera? Because I've seen so many people presenting evidence of basically a stream of light, which is obviously you've taken a picture. There's some light source. It could be tiny. It could be like the standby button on your TV. You've moved the camera ever so slightly, and you've got a red line going across the room. It could be something simple as that. And I
actually done that as an experiment when I first started doing investigations. I had my brother with a K2 meter, and the green light was showing, and he actually moved it in the dark, and I took a picture, and you had that long streak of green light. And I posted that just to see what people would make of it, and 90% of people was like, "Yeah, that's spirit."
Yeah,
there was only a very select few people that were like, "Well, what was your camera shutter speed?" And you know, going into the tech side of it. And I mean, I knew what it was all along, but I just wanted to see what other people made of it, and it's quite interesting to find out what people actually think. There was even, I mean, I don't know if you've seen it. It was released by the museum, the Haunted Museum, Neil Packer's.
Whose museum?
Neil Packer.
Neil Packer. He's got a haunted museum over in Hinckley, I think it is.
Right. Okay. The only one I know of is that Bacon.
No.
I didn't know the other one.
They actually had a clown. It was a dull clown on the table, and it just fell over. And there was people on there saying, yeah, it's ghosts. They pushed it over. There was no force to this doll falling over. So I just said, you know, it could just be it fell over. I mean, the camera angle was a bit dodgy anyway, so it did look like the doll was leaning over it anyway. But I just said, look, I personally think it just fell. It happened.
I mean,
you know,
I've walked
time, but they were like, no, it's definitely a doll, definitely some spirit pushing it. And I'm like, look, if it's a spirit that wants my attention, it's got to do so much better than that.
Yeah. It's the Haunted Antiques Paranormal Research Centre, is what we're talking about.
It sounds awesome, actually. I could go there at some point.
No, they're open weekends for investigators and stuff like that. They're very open. They do plenty of Facebook Lives and, you know, stuff like that. They have come under criticism, but haven't we all?
Everyone does.
At the end of the day, exactly. Haven't we all?
I welcome criticisms as long as it's constructive. You know, if people have criticism of Living Paranormal magazine, I'm more than happy to listen and take it on board, because at the end of the day, that means I can improve it.
Yeah. Talking of your magazine, let's move this on. Talking of your magazine, it's monthly.
Bi-monthly. Is it bi-monthly? Every 2 months? Okay. Every 2 months, yeah.
Okay, so how can people find your magazine?
www.livingparanormalmagazine.com.
And what are you covering this month?
Well, it might be slightly delayed because I'm trying to source a new laptop. For those of you listening who don't know, my laptop blew up. I'm not going to say what I was doing at the time, but it blew up. So yeah, it might be a bit delayed this month. It might actually have to come out in September because I'm trying to get a decent laptop. So yeah, but it's when it does come out, it's going to be issue 10, and we're focusing on locations in this one. So someone's going to be writing an article about the forest in Japan, for example, that people go to commit suicide.
Oh, the suicide forest.
I actually, there's a documentary on Netflix.
Yeah,
called Dark Tourist.
Yeah,
that's it. They actually go there.
This is trending at the moment. To be fair, the Dark Tourist is trending at the moment. It's really popular, the Dark Tourist, if you've not caught it, guys.
Some people refer to him as just a second-rate Louis Theroux, but at the end of the day, he's not. I mean, he just looks like him and happens to be a documentarian person. Word.
I love that. You make words up like I do, Alex.
Sorry, he's a journalist.
Documentarianism kind of person.
Like I said, I'm special. But it's good. It's a good. I like it.
I thought it was a really good series. But yeah, definitely catch it.
If you like Louis Theroux stuff, you like this.
Yeah, I have got to catch that.
They took someone into that forest, and they were quite affected by some spiritual energy that's in there. They also spoke to someone that found one of the bodies, apparently a local cafe owner.
Oh,
but he was actually English, that guy as well, I think.
He was, yeah. He spoke with English accent. It's like English words.
His skin colour was white, and he spoke English. So he's either from America,
whatever country they were from. But
no, it was awesome. Yeah. I mean, so someone will be writing about the suicide forest. I don't really like to refer to it that, but I can't remember what it's called. And we're going to write about the UK's Roswell, which is forgotten the name of, in Suffolk.
Oh, there's Rendlesham Forest.
That's it. Yep.
Yep.
I knew it began with R. So any locations that are significant to some sort of paranormal event, or like they're haunted, basically. That's what we're going to be writing about. And it's going to be issue 10. The last issue we focused on urban legends, and we talked about vampires and zombies and the spirit of Blackbeard as well. Before that was June, and then in April we released an issue which was focusing on cults, because we do like to sort of explore, I don't know how you sort of describe it, not odd, but dark sides to humanity, like Satanism, the occult, crimes and things like that. We like to explore that sort of stuff as well. So in April we released the issue which was about cults. We had stuff in there about Jim Jones and the People's Temple, which was the cult where people drank the Kool-Aid. And then obviously Charles Manson, everyone knows about Charles Manson. And then obviously, I mean, I did my top 10 cults, which I mean obviously I researched into these 10 cults, and it was incredible. Some of the stuff that's happened in these places was mad. And then our first issue this year was focusing on aliens. So this year we're sort of having sort of a theme to each issue. So the next issue, as I said, is going to be focusing on locations.
Have you done the True Crimes Museum in Hastings?
I have.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Hey, I have. For God's sakes, come on now, come on, Paul, come on.
It was just you mentioned about murderers and stuff, and
I can't really give much of an opinion of that place, because the issue we had is the bar next door had a band playing until 11:30 midnight almost.
That's the one. bad point about that place.
Yeah, I mean they're meant to be changing something, I don't know, but there's basically a door that the only thing separating the bar next to the stage and like the museum is a door.
Yeah.
But it's an awesome place. It's not massive, but there's interesting things in there.
Yeah.
For definite, you know. And even the stuff that's not genuine, but stuff that's like models of things. Like they've got the skulls from the Lizzie Borden murders.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not the actual skulls, but you know they're recreations.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually you see pictures and stuff, but when you actually have a recreation of what the skulls look like after they were hit with the axe, it was quite impressive to look at. And then they've got all these weapons that were made in prison, in a prison in Rio de Janeiro, one of the most dangerous prisons in the world.
Yeah.
And it's incredible some of the lengths that prisons go to make something to hurt people. Even it was even a gun. Someone made a gun somehow. You know. And that's not even, you know, going in. Like they've got a rope that hung someone. They've got a bath that was used to dissolve bodies in. They've got an execution chair. They've got these big barrels which contained acid that a murderer used to dissolve bodies. They've got actual proper interesting stuff there, but all of it is interesting.
Mm.
Absolutely. Did you get anything while you was down there?
It was difficult too.
Okay.
Because of what was going on
The
next
noise.
door.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to return there because we feel it's worth it. Just our time was taken up this year by something else that turned out to be a waste of our time. So, so yeah, we've not really focused that much on investigations.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of places that have just sort of been busy with other paranormal teams that have just been busy with other projects, and there isn't much. I mean, there's still the odd few.
It's not expensive either.
No,
like
I found that.
I find it reasonably priced.
Cool.
Which is important in our industry.
we did have a question in the chat room by Nez Watts. Just trying to find it now. What's been your most active location? That was the question.
There's probably three, I'd say. Fort Amherst, obviously, we've gone over that earlier. There's a place, I won't say exactly where it is because, I mean, you guys probably will know what I'm talking about. It's a church in Essex. And it's just one big room. It's not a very big church. It's built out of an old Roman fort.
Is this the one that's literally in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, it's you have to park and then walk like 10 minutes up the road. Yeah,
I know the one.
We've actually got a lot of stuff happening at that location. From things being thrown around the room, things being thrown at us, possession. I don't know if it's because we've done it so much. We tend to sort of go there to, you know, like in football where they have pre-season friendlies to sort of, you know, get their sharpness back. That's what we do sometimes. We go there to get our sharpness back if we've not investigated for a while. So that's a very active location. And the only reason why I don't say where it is because, you know, it is a religious place, and I don't know if me saying where exactly it is going to cause a load of people suddenly start going there. But I mean, you can find out.
I was going to say, yeah. I think for those that obviously don't know, yeah, maybe we should keep it that way.
I mean, people. I mean, you know, people. If they take what I've said and go on Google, you'll find it easily enough. I mean, most Essex teams on their websites have it on there, so you know, just go and look.
I think it's a shame though, because I know that there is a local community that's not that church, and if there are paranormal investigators there and they catch them, they would decide to lock the church, which is a shame because they keep it open all the time.
I mean, we've been interrupted by that community before, and they're generally okay. So we're not. I mean, they see us, they speak to us on our faces, we tell them who we are, and bloody blah blah. So if they go there the next day and someone,
I think it might just depend on what you're called doing.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. We've never used a Ouija board there, as far as I'm aware. But then again, so what? It's a Ouija board. It's not as bad as people make them out to be.
Well, that's it. That's what we know. But
yeah. It just depends what you're doing to try and get the ghost to do things. I guess I don't know. I mean, we've danced in there before, to try and get the ghost to do stuff. The spirits. Sorry, I shouldn't say ghost. That's so unprofessional, isn't it?
No, but I do know the location you're talking about.
It's a great location, and if you want to sort of, train yourself up, or if you haven't investigated for a while and you want to get like your sharpness back, it's a great place to go to do that. But just be aware that the community nearby do go there sometimes in the evenings for, well, not a midnight mass, but as close to that as it can be, I suppose. And you have to respect, if they turn up, you have to respect them and just, take yourself outside or, take part in the service, which we've done. So,
absolutely.
And the other location, which I'm again, it's a good location, but it's been hyped up a lot, and that's the Ancient Ram Inn, where we caught some very interesting stuff there, and it was a really good location to go to.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's as haunted and is got all these demons knocking about and stuff as people seem to think, but it is a good location to go to.
I mean, another location that might be interesting, maybe for you, just to go as a small team possibly, is a place called Cold Christmas. It's near a place in Bedfordshire,
Where?
I think it is. Ware, W-A-R-E. Exactly.
Where?
You got it already. It's literally a ruin of a church. Mm-hmm. So you've only got the church spire or tower, or whatever, and you've still got obviously some of the graves that are there, but it's not so much the church area that's haunted, but we've picked up a lot of stuff in the woods that surround it, and it is only like small woods. And you can actually see white shadows of people running in and out of the trees when you're doing the investigation at the church.
I mean, in terms of like church ruins, I mean, I think Norfolk has the largest amount of those out of all the counties in the UK. There's so many, and they're really awesome places to go to. And some of them we have sort of investigated and picked up a few bits. But there's a church in Lincolnshire that we want to go to. Which has the nickname the Demon Church.
Literally rolling my eyes.
Yeah. Well, it's got that nickname because apparently Satanists go there to do their...
blah, blah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I don't know.
We've got one of those as well.
I was going to say, isn't every county got one of those?
I don't know, but I mean, we interviewed a demon, not a demon, Jesus Christ.
I was going to say, blimey. Give me his number.
We interviewed a Satanist on the American Ghost Hunter show, and he was so boring. He would not. He basically said it's just a form of it's just another form of being an atheist. It's like, well, okay, I get that Hollywood might have, made Satanism to be a bit more than what it actually is, but there's more to it than what you're saying. It's so boring. I mean, the guy's all right, but I was just expecting a bit more in terms of, a bit more about Satanism and stuff. It's the guy who owns, what's his name? I can't remember his name now. Eric something. He owns the House of Wheels in Ohio, in America, which is like on my bucket list. That's one of the places I need to do before I die. So, I even if Satanists do go there, I mean, I don't know exactly what they get up to, and I'm not going to go around cutting chickens' heads off. I mean, there's Christian religion, there's forms of Christianity where people cut the heads off chickens. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to go there and we'll see what happens. You never know.
Like I said, there's so many places that I've added to my bucket list since watching that Dark Tourist. It's like there was an island they went to. I can't remember for the life of me whereabouts it was now, but they said that it was also known as Battleship Island, because obviously the shape of it was like a battleship. But they got like houses and like blocks of flats and stuff that are on it, and it's all derelict. All no one lives there.
Was this in Japan?
That's in Japan, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It might have been the same episode.
It was, I think it was because it was built as a town because there was mining coal or something.
That's it. Yeah, it was on the top of the coal mine. That's the one. And it just looks an amazing place to walk around.
I mean, speaking of islands, there's two islands which I want to go to. One of them has Alcatraz on it, and the other one is Poveglia Island. They're two on the list of places I have to go before I die.
Yeah, they're on my list also.
The Battleship Island is otherwise known as Hashima Island, in case you're wondering.
Oh, there you go. That's the one.
Because I'm awesome like that. I know these things.
And you just Googled it.
I did, yeah. Yeah, I did.
So I don't do things like
that. I just Googled something as well.
Where is that? That's actually Hashima Island in Japan.
I actually contacted Alcatraz to do a paranormal investigation on there, and they come back and said, sadly, you can't do it overnight. You're more than welcome to come during the day and up to about midnight, but you can't go past that. They won't let you stay overnight because it's a protected building for the birds, apparently.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, they do have the birds there.
Another place. Just birds there. They are pigeons.
Yeah. They're special birds. They're special birds.
Special birds. Oh, special is the word of the evening.
They're special birds.
Today's show's being brought to you by the word special and the letter S.
Which also stands for shift. You thought I was going to say something else, didn't you, listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. On that bombshell, we have actually come to the end of the show.
I could have said sucky mushrooms, but never mind.
Oh my god!
That's close enough. Kerry, what have we got coming up for next week, Kerry?
This week we have got Tomorrow Haunted Histories. Now, this is a show that is up for grabs. If there is a location that you would like to hear about, we'll go back through the archives and see if Penny has already done a show on it. And if that's so, then we will replay that for you because she is on holiday at the moment. Otherwise, it'll be down to my choice.
House of Wills.
Huh?
Has she done the House of Wills?
House of Wills?
Or is it all... Yeah, the House of Wills, or is it all places in the UK?
No, she's done worldwide. She's done Australia, America,
if she hasn't done the House of Wills, which is in Cleveland in Ohio, she should do that because that is one of the best locations in America.
I don't think, if I recall, she has done that one, but I'm sure we can add that to her ever-growing list of shows to do. But if she's done a show on a location that you're interested in, then I'll see if it's in the archives and replay that. But I don't think the House of Wills is there, Alex, I'm afraid.
No, not yet.
Sorry.
Just add it to the list.
I'll add it to her list. Don't worry. She'll come back off holiday with a huge list. On Thursday evening, 9 p.m, we have the Spectral Zone with Kaz Rooney talking to the Scottish Ghost Adventures, who are great. Then on Sunday evening, we have Richard Estep in the studio. Penny pre-recorded that one. He is a guest speaker at the Sage Paracon this year, and we're finding out the man behind the author and finding out more about that. Don't forget, we have a competition going on the Parasearch Radio group page at the moment for a copy of The Wicked Shall Decay by Mr. Andy Mercer. If you want to be part of that competition, go over to the Parasearch Radio group page. You have to be a liker of the page and enter your name into the comments. Don't forget, if you've missed any of our shows, we are on YouTube. Click like, share, and subscribe. And
you just love doing that.
I do love doing that bit. I was so sad.
Yeah.
It's the highlight of my week. Click like, share, and subscribe
to YouTube, innit? Yeah.
I do like the symbols as well with my fingers. I'm like doing gesticulations with it as well. Click like, share, and subscribe. Little dance. I've got a little dance going and everything. Yeah, it's great.
We're going to have to do this live one night on Facebook as well. Facebook Live, just to Kerry do that.
Well, you see it on my lives.
I might have to get both of you on the American Ghost Hunter show.
No, I think that's a given. I've been waiting and waiting, but you know.
Yeah, I see what they're invited.
We've been waiting and waiting, haven't we, Paul? Come on.
No, you
we have always.
Because I haven't really mentioned it. I'll mention it really quickly because it's the end of the show. The American Ghost Hunter show is on paranormalwarehouse.com's Facebook live.
Awesome.
So you have to go on Facebook and search paranormalwarehouse.com and like their page.
Yeah. What day are you on?
We're currently on Sundays, but we're switching over to Saturdays.
And what time are you on?
Usually at some point after 7 because it takes Daryl forever to get it to work.
But at 9 p.m. you have to switch off their channel and come over onto Parasearch because I'm on at 9 p.m. All right.
Oh, hang on. Sorry.
Just saying.
Not 7 p.m. That's the American time. It's midnight in the UK. Sorry.
That's okay. You get to listen to me first, and then you can go over there. All right.
Exactly.
Dear.
So I get so confused because I'm always involved with people in America, so I'm always sort of quoting their time when I'm in our time, or the other way around.
Oh, I know. It's so inconvenient, this time difference, Alex. I don't know what that's all about.
It is. It's just another piece of evidence to prove the Earth is round.
Oh, that's one thing we do. We do rip into flat earthers on our show because we can't resist.
I actually there was a post the other day I was looking at, and it actually went through all the reasons the Earth is round and not flat. So I actually reposted it, and I put on there, this is for all the stupid flat Earth theory people.
Well, we interviewed a flat earther. We interviewed one on the American Ghost Hunter show, and this guy, he's basically doing it to make money because he's made money from it. He was interviewed by Russell Brand, and we had him on our show. He recorded, because this was when we were on K-Core, he recorded the show, and then he put it on YouTube without our permission.
Yeah, that's been an issue. That's been an issue with K-Core.
So we don't like him. So now, whenever we get the chance, we just take the piss out of people that believe the Earth is flat.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
But you have to be careful. There are some satire pages about flat Earth on Facebook, like one where they act like they believe it, but they don't because it's satire.
Yeah.
They said that Australia doesn't exist and all the Australians are just actors paid by government.
I've read that.
God,
as well.
really? Conspiracy theory number one?
That's satire. That is not real.
Jeez.
Yeah, I read that.
Okay. We'll go with that.
You've got to feel sorry for people anyway. So, yeah, all that's left for me to do is thank our very special guests tonight, Kerry and Alex.
Special guest.
I'm more special than you, Alex.
I'm Special Officer Goofy. I want to watch Scary Movie 1 now. Thanks for that.
I might join you on Netflix.
It's on Netflix, yeah, exactly.
I'm going to carry on watching Orange is the New Black.
I haven't got around to that yet.
I've not got around to the new series.
Anyway, guys, let's not talk about TV while we're on the show.
Speaking of TV, no, I'm joking.
Everybody for joining me in the
there is
chat
something
room.
I want to say, but it's at the end of the show, so I'll leave it.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we see you all next week.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.